And good evening and welcome to episode 36. I'm not wearing my glasses already and my eyes are already pinging, so they're going to have to go on, Kev. So we're not got Paul this week. Paul's going to be in later on today. So good evening to everybody. So we've got someone special in tonight. Welcome, Kev.
Good evening, all.
Good evening, Kev. Welcome to the Madhouse. This is your second or third time you've been on?
I think it's my third.
Yeah, I think it might be third actually, because we did a duel and then we did another one. Didn't we do a couple of weeks ago when Paul wasn't about?
Yes.
And then we're in now. So good evening to everybody out there in the land of YouTube. Thank you for joining us this week. Mate, I've got to put my glasses on. My eyes are pinging, mate.
Do it.
So I hope we're all good. We've got some topics to talk about this week. As I say, Paul's not in at the moment, so me and Kev are going to run the show for a little bit until Paul comes in. Paul has got other commitments. I'll probably get a message in a little bit saying, send me the link and he'll come in and we'll have a chat, because we have got Ask the Boys later on, and we've also got some other subjects we'd like to talk about as well. So, Kev, as we start out, how's your week been? What have you had for tea? Because I know it's been earlier this week because you've had to join us. What are you drinking? What are you vaping? And when was the last time you saw your penis?
What order do you want me to go in?
Go in any order you want.
Any order I want.
Any order you please.
So my week has been busy as always, working away. For tea, I had sausage, egg, and chips and beans.
Oh, nice.
Just something a little bit different, something a bit traditional in my eyes. Can't beat sausage, egg, chips and beans.
Definitely workman's tea, and you get home and it's on the table, but in your case, you made it your fucking self.
Yeah. With 4 slices of bread and butter as well.
Oh, nice.
So, what am I vaping on?
Hold on. Back your bread and butter.
Yeah.
When you make a sandwich, do you have butter on your bread when you make a sandwich, or do you just have it when you're having with fish and chips or with sausages and stuff?
It depends on what sort of sandwich it is. If it was a cheese sandwich, then I might butter it. But then if you're having Branston pickle with your cheese, then you wouldn't butter it. If you're having jam, you definitely don't butter it, unless you're doing toast and then you butter it and jam it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's got to be done. It's got to be done.
No.
It's like cheese on toast. Cheese on toast doesn't need to be buttered. No, it doesn't need to be buttered.
Yeah, but you can always add condiments to it. So you can add fucking maybe a bit of Henderson's relish or fucking whatever that other stuff is.
Well, I can't. I don't eat anything posh like that.
Oh, okay. Cheese and toast with Henderson relish. Not wrong with that.
I just have cheese on toast. There's no.
Darren Green says butter on all 3, mate. Butter on all 3.
No, I disagree on that.
Real butter or Marge? The question is real butter or Marge?
I go for Lurpak salted butter.
Jay said it Worcestershire sauce. So you get Henderson's relish and Worcestershire sauce. Josh Warner, get him off. He's a wrong one. I think he's talking about you, Kevin.
No, I think he's talking about you. You're just wrong.
Probably. Crumpets with butter and margarine. No, there's one or the other. You can't do both.
Butter and Marmite.
Oh, I'm wearing my glasses and I can fucking see.
No, I wouldn't do Marmite. Don't do Marmite. But crumpets and butter. Definitely crumpets and butter.
No, I don't. We don't have butter in there. So you have margarine.
Or I should say pikelets and butter.
But it depends where you come from, innit?
Precisely.
Depends where you come from.
Bacon. Bacon has got to have butter on.
But no, not if you're putting brown sauce on. You don't need butter.
You do.
It's that simple. If you're putting the sauce with it, why would you destroy it with fucking another condiment?
I knew exactly what your reply was going to be, because when you made me bacon butters, there was no butter on the bread, and I was gutted. I was gutted, but I felt like an idiot saying, "Where's my butter?" So I didn't say anything and let them dry. I didn't want to be ungrateful.
Did I not have any sauce on them?
No, I put tomato sauce on them.
See, then you don't need fucking
Yeah,
margarine
but
or butter.
I wouldn't have had tomato sauce if I had butter.
So then, to best of both worlds, you didn't get any butter, so you didn't have to complain about not having any tomato ketchup. So it's that fucking simple. And I don't have tomato ketchup with bacon sandwiches. It's got to be brown sauce. HP, not Daddy's. Daddy's is shit.
It's all
Simple
about
as.
Daddy's brown sauce.
Daddy's brown sauce is crap.
Crumpets, real butter, and Nutella. Have a word with yourself. Real butter and Nutella.
Have a word with yourself. See, I don't mind Nutella, and I've never tried it on a crumpet, but
Yeah,
butter
Nutella.
as well.
Nutella would be fine on like a crumpet because it's more desserty then. But with butter, nah. I think we need to somehow try and delete him out of the chat, can we?
Butter and Nutella is a no. I'm big enough, let alone putting margarine or butter on my fucking shit.
Butter can go with everything. No, it can't.
Depends. It depends. So, how are you saying? How's your week been so far, then, mate? And what are you vaping?
What I'm vaping on, I've a few things I'm vaping on this evening. What a surprise! I've got billet box, mango and passion salt in my black one. That's my daily go-to every day, all day. I've got my nice new one, my unicorn poo. The one what I've been really looking forward to for a long while. I've also got mango passion on this, but I'm using the EUC coils in this one, and I've got the Nautilus coils in this one. So I'm just trying to do a bit of a flavour comparison to see what sort of flavour comes out in best with what coil.
Like that.
I've got another billet box with a Nautilus and Cool Mint. And just for my little bit of sub-ohm this evening, I've got my new overdose box with some rhubarb crumble.
So you're nice and steady. Where were your vapes this week, Kev?
Yeah, just a few. What about yours, Tom? How's your week been? No, actually, I forgot a question, didn't I?
Go on.
When was the last time I saw my cat? It was about 5 minutes ago when I went for a wee. So, Tom, how's your week been? What you had for tea? What you're vaping on? And can you please tell me, can you find a magnifying glass big enough to see your cock?
Well, I'll start off with the first question. Yes, it's proved. I've got a kid upstairs, so I can find my penis. Just thought I'd let you know that one. All the girls out there, I am taken. Sorry. My week's been good so far. Obviously, I've been concentrating a lot on the website recently. That's one of my new roles. And obviously, we are coming up next week is going to be Black Friday. So we are working on the backside of the website, getting all Black Friday sorted so we can have some fucking mega deals on there. And when I say mega deals, I mean, Paul said some stuff to me today about stuff he's going to be doing. And I was like, I might have to get some of this myself. So Black Friday's coming up. I think it's the 23rd of November, isn't it? Black Friday.
Sounds somewhat about right.
Yeah. So we're doing that at the minute. And just generally doing work. I won't talk about the little creepy crawlies I picked up this week because a lot of people might not like creepy crawlies. So yeah, I've been doing that this week as well. But yeah, it's all right. And I'm on my trusty AO, Nautilus AO that I use day in, day out to keep me away from the cigarettes. Because as we've said plenty of shows, if I didn't have a mouth to lung device, I would happily go back to cigarettes. If I didn't have my vape, so I keep myself topped up with that. I show you my Emperor, but I believe it's upstairs with Abby. So I can't show you that. But that's what I've been on this week as well. And what's the other question? What I've had for tea?
What have you had for tea?
Do you want to know honestly what I had for tea?
Yeah.
I had a bag of ready salted French fry and a Muller ice pudding with some jam in it.
That's not substantial enough, is it?
That's what I had for tea. I wasn't hungry. That's what I had for tea. I had a late dinner. I've been busy, so I had a late dinner today. So I didn't eat. Well, an early lunch, whatever anybody's late lunch or whatever anybody fucking says, dinner, tea, whatever.
Did you have breakfast?
I didn't have breakfast. No, I didn't.
So was it more of a brunch, a late brunch?
It was more of a 2 o'clock dinner time.
Oh.
So yeah, I did that, and Mike, about the spiders.
What spiders? Don't know what you're on about.
No comment.
Have they got 8 legs and hairy?
Yeah, 3 of them. But yeah, we'll get away from that. So Kev, we've got a few things to cover before Paul comes in. So the first, I've obviously sent you the links this week for the news that we are going to cover. Obviously, as I said, we've got Ask the Boys later. Kev will probably be involved with the Ask the Boys later. But we have got some news while we wait for Paul. We've got this week in the news, we have got the FDA in America. And I know we've been talking a lot about the FDA recently on Endless Banter, but the FDA in the States and the way the industry is in the States is very much the leading front of vaping. Well, was, I would say a couple of years ago, was. The UK obviously is taking over. But even though we're not part of the FDA in the UK and the FDA doesn't control us, that's obviously for America, I still would advise everybody to keep their eye on the vaping news, because for all we know is that the FDA setting standards and then our own country comes along and takes part in what the FDA are putting into rulings. So I'd always advise everybody to either listen to what we say or listen to the news, watch the news on vaping. Obviously, these aren't going to be covered on general media on your TV or whatever. So I would always say look up on the news about what's going on with the FDA. That's a big thing to look at. But the first one is that the FDA are looking to ban flavors inside convenience stores and also add an online restriction. So basically what they're saying is, Kev, is obviously you've got a lot of these days, you've got sort of like, you've got Argos selling vape gear, you've got the corner shop sell vape gear, you know, a lot of your convenience stores are starting to pop up with stuff. Morrison's has got stuff, Co-op's got stuff. So the FDA are basically saying they want to ban any flavorings that are being sold inside a convenience store. They literally just want to sell tobacco flavors. I don't even think they want to sell menthol. I just think it's tobacco. So what's your thoughts on that, Kev? Do you think that there's any sort of reasoning behind why they would do that? Obviously, vaping is for over the age of 18. So kids can't actually step into convenience stores. Well, they shouldn't be able to step into convenience stores and purchase vaping gear like they could with alcohol and cigarettes. Well, they can't in the States because it's what, 21 to drink.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on it? Do you think it's another way of cracking down?
To be fair, I think it's load of rubbish. I don't think it will stop people vaping. If they want to vape, they would just vape the tobacco or the mint flavors. If that's the only option they've got, then that's what they're going to go for. It's not going to stop people not doing it, because if people are vaping already, they've obviously have got some sort of addiction there to nicotine. So they're going to get the nicotine, need to get the nicotine from somewhere, and that's either going to be from a vape device or cigarettes. So either a tobacco flavor or a menthol flavor, you can get those in cigarette form or you can get those in vape form. So they're going to carry on regardless of banning candy flavors. If it's candy flavors, fruit flavors, dessert flavors, anything along those sort of lines, even if they ban them, they're still going to have vaping products there. So they'll still be able to get the tobacco and still be able to get the mint. So I don't think personally it will crack down with the amount of people doing it. If they've got some sort of craving there for nicotine, then they're going to want to get their fix from somewhere.
Yeah. It says on this post on the article, it says the FDA will ban sales of closed systems vaping products like Juul in flavors, except tobacco and menthol in convenience stores and gas stations. According to the Washington Post, the Post also reports that anonymous FDA sources say the agencies will impose additional age verification requirements for online sales, although these aren't specific. So we've obviously a lot of the thing is for me, online sales, right? You can never not justify, you can never clarify the person's age who's buying online, right? Obviously, majority of the sites, unless the only way you're going to do that is if every site out there makes you send in some form of identification.
No, you don't need to do that. If you had some sort of verifying a driving license number or a passport number, it would obviously give.
You'd have to have a system that would be able to check that, and I don't think any, because then you can turn around and say, well, that's what's the word where people give out your data and you're not meant to, what is it called?
The Data Protection Act.
Data Protection Act. So they're not going to give you anything that you can just put and because you're going to have that information to clarify the number. So the only way you can do it, because the majority of websites now say, are you over 18? And you click yes or no, and then they give you your date of birth to put in. And if you put your date of birth in wrong, they usually send you to Disneyland page or they'll send you back to Google. So that's how they're doing it over here. To me, honestly, I don't see how you could do that online wise unless you was made to create an account and verify it with some sort of identification. There's going to be websites out there that ain't going to run that, and they're still going to sell their vape gear. There's not everybody going to comply to it. So you tell me how you're going to get age verification without doing that.
Obviously, like you was about to say, unless people were to sign up to an account and you had to send a photo of your proof of identity, of age, that sort of basis, that would be the only other way of doing it. And then you'd have your account verified by...
Who's to say that's your identification? It could be your dad's, could be your uncle's, could be brothers.
Well, you could go really technical into it. You could go to facial recognition plugin. So obviously most people have got webcams on their smartphones, laptops, computers. So obviously if you've got some sort of facial recognition, that as long as that person who's signed up to the account has obviously logged into with their face or fingerprint or whatever else, that would be the only way to fully secure it. And if that didn't stay there, then obviously it would automatically log out the account.
But then it's going to change it. And for me personally, then it's all that's going to do is just heighten fucking proxy sales. That's all that's going to do. So for me personally, there's no way around it. You know what I mean? You can ring a person at the Yellow Pages who delivers booze 24/7 and get it delivered to your house.
Yeah.
I don't know if they give it after you offer any verification, but that happens. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's always there. To me, I don't see how they're going to be able to do that. I really don't. And it's about also the investment in doing that. Who's going to invest that money to have to do it?
So a couple of people have commented credit card, but obviously credit card, yes, you could use credit card to log in because you'd have to be over a certain age to get a credit card, but you could soon use your parents' credit card to log in anyway.
Exactly. Jack saying, mate, this is vaping, not CIA. But what we're saying, Jack, is the fact is that they may, if they're saying they're going to go hard on making sure that age verification is there, there's ways and means of doing it. And if this is the ways and means of doing it, well, they're going to fucking put it in place. Do you know what I mean?
If they've got to, they'll have to.
But then again, you can buy fucking cigars online.
Yeah.
You can buy fucking booze online.
You can buy anything online at the end of the day, can't you?
No. Yeah, there's no age verification. Fuck me, you can go onto a porn site and watch it for free.
Can you?
You know what I mean? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. I don't know. I'm innocent, mate. I ain't got a clue. But that's what I'm saying.
Until proven guilty.
How they, and that's what I want to see. if they're going to put that into place in the States, I want to see how they're going to do it and how they're going to implement it and stuff. That's my argument to it. But go on, sorry.
Jack's just commented, move to the dark web. And that's probably pretty much what things will go along the lines of.
Oh, I don't see it becoming a black market. I don't see vaping ever becoming a black market.
No, in America, if they totally banned flavored e-liquids, that it all had to be closed pod systems, you couldn't refill them and everything else, they would force it to a black market.
Yeah.
Because if people want it,
I believe that they're only doing this to the 4 main tobacco companies that own vaping products, like Blue. Do you know what I mean? E-lights and stuff like that. Companies that have got pod systems that are part of the tobacco. Obviously, a few weeks back we discussed that. Obviously, the tobacco companies had 60 days to come up with, like a way not to get kids into vaping and stuff like that. But on the subject of this, Kev, we've had a response. So they've had a response of the FDA from Blue. Everybody knows Blue. Blue's a household name. Blue is stating, we will not remove flavor products from convenience stores. And that's what they're saying. So they've turned around and said, basically, fuck you. We're not doing what you say. We're not doing it. We won't remove them. And that's basically it. What's your let's have a look and see what they're saying in this report. I'm just going to read this little bit, this report. So basically, once again, this all goes back to kids vaping and getting kids into vaping and how kids shouldn't be using vaping. And it's not even kids, it's teenagers and, late teens. They're basically wanting to restrict online sales to customers 21 and over, even in the states that don't have a tobacco 21 law, requiring online partners to use the age verification technology, which we've already just discussed. I don't know how the fuck they're going to do that. Reviewing its packaging, designs, and flavor descriptions. Ending contracts with retailers caught selling to minors. So basically telling them to, if anybody finds out that they're distributing to people who are selling to kids, that he's cutting off, which that is something we'd do anyway. If I found out one of my resellers was selling to kids, I'd cut them off in no fucking time. Creating a hotline to report underage sales. Basically, that's fucking dob a dealer, like we discussed last week. Me and Paul said last week, dob a fucking dealer. And also monitoring social media. So
that's hell of a lot what they're gonna try and put in place. And if
monitoring social media, to me personally, if you say monitoring social media, I know what it's like, and a lot of people in here know what it's like on social media, and social media takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And if a company's running this, to have somebody, one person just sat there monitoring, looking around social media 24/7, 365.
But just to
fucking roll.
Just to sort of put in there, isn't that a breach of privacy though? Because obviously, if you've not given rights to your like obviously accepting a friend request, you're giving someone the rights to view your stuff. If they haven't got the rights to view your stuff, they physically still can't see what you post.
The thing is, at the end of the day, it's on social. So if you're on Instagram, you're basically signed terms and conditions that anybody can look at your photos on Instagram.
But Facebook.
If you've got a private profile, then you can't look at it, can you? So you're gonna have to look at sort of like, you're gonna look at and what's the name? Analytics. How do you say
Analytics.
That's it. So you're gonna have to look at them. So like hashtags, you're gonna have to look at what people are writing in the comments. If the hashtagging, I don't think anybody with a blue device would hashtag blue fucking tobacco. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. There's gonna be certain ways that you're gonna have to look at it in that way. But my main argument is that if you're a company and you need to hire somebody in to be looking at social media constantly like that, that's bringing in more staff, that's bringing in more jobs, that's bringing in less cash.
Correct.
Do you get what I mean? It's also taking money away from the company, because you have to hire somebody to do that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing where smaller companies ain't going to be able to thrive, because they're spending thousands on having somebody monitor fucking online so they can watch them as if there's kids using their devices.
Yeah. That I think it pretty much goes to say that it will come down to a very few companies in the end. If it does fully go along the route of having to do all these things, then it's the only people who can afford to do it are going to be big companies. But
I'm saying they will have keywords flagged that will be monitored, which they do that on Instagram, don't they? Anyway, they monitor certain words about vaping and stuff like that. Anyway, at the moment on Instagram,
computer monitored.
Mike saying that all vape pages need to be public to join. Do they not? No. If it's public, you can join the group, but they can also be a closed group. So when it's a closed group, you actually have to request to join that group. That's when it's closed. So people can always search your profiles and not accept you joining the page. So that's a closed group. You can't see it without joining the group. So if the page is public, you can join it and you're on it straight away. But the majority of groups, and even groups that I'm in that aren't vaping, a majority of them may join a group because it's a closed group. So the actual admins of that group can check it. Let's have a look. What else? Yeah, Nathan said exactly the same about the closed group. Jack's on about just starting up his deep web.
let me guess, deep web social media, something like that. A dark web Facebook.
Dark web. I call it Facebook because it'd be keywords, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So also in the news about that, so this is another thing that's come part of this as well, is that, so Blue have turned around and said, fuck you, but Juul have turned around and said, we will happily pull our flavours off the retail market. You ready? So not just convenience stores, also vape stores.
Really?
Yeah. Their words are, Juul will pull flavours off the retail market, even from vape shops. So they will just be left with tobacco. But we said a couple of weeks back, because obviously we're talking about Juul and the money they've made and how much of a craze they are in the UK. They never really took off in the UK. I know there's a few stores that do carry them. There's not many. There is a few. But they never sort of took off in the UK like they did in the States. But the reason they took off really well in the States is because it was minors using them. But it says here, Juul is removing 4 of its popular non-tobacco flavour pods from the retail market immediately, including from vape shops. The flavours being restricted are cream, cucumber, fruit and mango. The company will also shut down its own Instagram and Facebook accounts. They announced actions are part of response to the FDA Commissioner Scott Gillip, whatever his name is, warning to Juul and the 4 tobacco companies that also make vaping products to present plans to eliminate underage use of their products. And this is where the senator, or whatever he is, said they basically want 60 days to tell it so you could turn around and say how is the best way for you to reduce use of minors using your products. And then turning around and go, well, we'll remove it from vape shops. Well, you shouldn't be selling it to minors in vape shops. 2, you shouldn't be selling it to minors in convenience stores. And 3, to shut down your own social media platforms. That's fucking ballsy, is that?
You've got to take hats off to him to take that sort of statement, because if it does go completely wrong for him, that'll be the end of Joel. At the end of the day,
do you know how many retailers they have in the States?
Go on then.
Sorry, worldwide. Sorry, worldwide.
Worldwide.
90,000 retailers.
It's a lot.
It's a hell of a lot. And for them to turn around and to take 4 products off the market that they're not going to be reselling to them is ballsy. Big balls.
But then that's where it comes down to, will companies then start pulling their product off the shelf if they notice the sales go down? So if sales don't go down, a company's not going to hold their product.
Josh Warner, I'm just going to show his comment, says Jewel is arse licking. And that's 100% right. 100% right. They definitely are in pockets. That is the be all and end all of that. For them to turn around and say that they're going to do that, it is definitely they're in someone's pocket. So I agree with that 100%, Josh, that they're in someone's pocket. Because that is good. Even though it's 4 products, but when you've got 4 products, you're taking them off the shelves of 90,000 retailers. That's a hell of a lot of a fucking kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
So they have got some fucking balls for that.
So just want to mention something, right? Say for instance, Jewel was the only supplier of a electronic device. You only could buy Jewel pods, and you relied on the flavors they did. If you then find out they're going to pull all the flavors other than tobacco, menthol, and mint. Yeah, so they're going to pull every flavor other than those 3 flavors. Would you carry on vaping as it's still healthier for you, or would you go back to a tobacco product? Because a lot of people's reply are going to be, I'll go back to smoking because they don't like tobacco. But if you go back to smoking, you're having tobacco flavor anyway.
If there was the only device that you could use and you could get all them 3 flavors, 100% I would stick with vaping. It's when they start banning shit fully, that's when you start going to tobacco.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have a choice. So obviously, you need to get your nicotine from somewhere.
And there's a lot of people out there that would say, Kev, would happily say, nah, I'll just quit totally. I'd just go, I just won't smoke and I won't vape, I won't do no. I guarantee you within fucking 3 weeks, you'd be smoking more fucking fags than you did when you quit. Because a lot of people don't realise they consume a hell of a lot more nicotine than they actually do from vaping than they do smoking.
Correct.
So, and now everybody's sort of on salts and everyone's moving towards Nic salts. They're upping your fucking nicotine levels into your system. The minute you start smashing out 20 milligram Nic salts, your body's then used to 20 milligram. And if you ain't got shit to vape because they turn around and go, fuck yourself, you ain't having nothing to vape, is the minute you will know that your addiction is fucking real.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my piece on that one. So we're going to finish up. We finished off with that subject. Obviously, that's a big one. So as I say, if anybody wants to keep on looking at that, we'll go back to that probably next week or the week after, as soon as we get some updates on that situation for the FDA. But as I said before previously, make sure you do keep an eye on the news for vaping in the States, because obviously they are one of the leading, if not the leading. So keep lookout, keep up to date with the news. We will obviously report on the news from the States, because it's always good to sort of have their back as much as they don't have our back.
At the end of the day, if the UK buy a lot of stuff from the States, or from the companies what make it for companies in the States, it's going to affect UK market as well as every other market. It's not just going to affect the US, because they'll pull the flavor completely, and they're not going to just manufacture it for UK market. They're going to pull it 110%.
Yeah, of course. So we've got some positive news this week, Kev. This is the last news article we are going to report before we have some other general stuff we're going to have a chit chat about. But the good news this week is the adult smoking rate in the United States dropped in 2017 to record lows, right? So smoking cigarettes is at record lows, but government officials won't give any credit to vaping helping reduce that.
But I'm sure there was a report shows 2.8% of American adults use e-cigarettes. That's about 6.8 million people.
Would you say that was a I think that's a crock of shit, me. 2.8% uses electronic cigarettes in the US. I think that's a crock of shit.
I don't know, because there's a lot of in America, there's a lot of different states and everything else. And I think a lot of places still might be along the lines of they're still unsure about vaping and everything else, and will carry on smoking cigarettes for that reason.
Yeah. But like with this report, they're saying they're not going to give any backing towards vaping as being the successor to why people are stopping using cigarettes. The thing is, for me, is the reason they do that is because the minute they turn around and go, well done, vaping, you've got fucking how many millions of people off smoking, congratulations, they know they're defeated.
Yeah.
It's very much a sort of,
they're not going to give us a pat on the back.
Yeah, and they wouldn't do that anyway. We know that, and we know the reasons they're not going to give that, and that's how it goes and whatnot. But for a report to state and them to actually state that cigarette use is on the decline, is definitely a huge thing for us to use as a backup to say that, well, these guys are reporting and saying cigarettes are on the lowest it can be, and there's no different out there apart from vaping. Because there's no difference in NRTs, there's no difference in research they're doing. Everything that's out there, it just has to look at vaping and see that they're obviously they're doing this by sales, aren't they? They're not doing it by how many people have been brought in through illness and stuff like that. They're doing that through sales of cigarettes and what the actual number of how much profit. They're still making billions and millions of pounds, but obviously they've took a little bit of a decline, and obviously that's down to people not smoking.
Yeah.
So for them to turn around and go, there's your decline, it's definitely another sort of like kick in the teeth for them.
Correct.
Because we've got the 95% safer, we've got the new, it's lower in cigarettes being consumed. It's definitely sort of on the up, but they're also like trying to bring it down as well. So that's it in that one. So Kev, we've talked a lot about smoking and whatnot and everything like that, and obviously the news that's gone on in the States with the FDA. Want to just mention to Anthony, there isn't a website.
Tom, just to interrupt you, Paul just put in the chat a link to join would be a bonus.
He sent me a message 3 minutes ago saying, "Where's my link?" Sorry, Paul.
You get that sorted out, and then carry on what you were saying. Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. No, I was going to mention. So I was thinking about this once I was reading through all the stuff that's gone on, and obviously through the FDA and everything like that. What I've wrote down in my notes is the lifestyle difference between smokers and vaping. It was never. It's not when we look at vaping now and the lifestyle of vaping, and do you know what I mean, the shows and stuff like that, and people on the community on Facebook and stuff like that. What do you think makes it so different to that? The fact is that there wasn't this lifestyle in smoking, but there is the lifestyle in vaping. Before you answer, good evening, Mr. PH. We can see you.
Hi. Hello.
And we can hear you.
Fucking bonus.
So what I say, Kev, is that obviously, what do you believe? Why has it changed it to a lifestyle like it is now in vaping than it is compared to when we was all smoking? What's the difference?
Personally, when I first started off, after a few months in, got to know there's a lot more people talking about stuff. As there's a lot of variety of products out there, now as people were quite willing to share their knowledge and what they've learned, what they've tried, they thought was best, what they did, that sort of stuff. And I think that has just grown. So obviously it started off quite small, with a few groups here and there in certain places, groups of friends, and then friends would add friends in, friends would add more friends in, and obviously those groups just got bigger and bigger and bigger. People are happy to talk about, if people ask the questions, if, say for instance, you don't know how to build or whatever else, people are happy to give that information across, because we've all been there, we've all had to learn. And I think a lot of people are happy to give that information. I think a lot of people are also frightened to ask. So don't want to sound like stupid or anything else.
That's a really bad thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to mention. I'm going to go on to that, but that's what you're saying there is what is one of the bugbearers of mine. Is people feel like they can't ask that question because they're going to get a bag full of comments basically saying boil your batteries or fucking do you know what I mean, use a coat hanger for wire or what. Some people are just going to literally rip them down, so they're not willing to do that, and that sort of is a huge negative in it. But what I'm saying about the community and stuff is you think the community is there and everybody's thriving and everybody that wants to talk about it and whatnot, it's because it's a lot more moving forward, as in you've got products coming out every other day, you've got juices, you can try so many different devices, but within tobacco you've literally got a cigarette you buy off the shelf and you light it.
Yeah, there's nothing different to it, unless you go for flavored tobaccos and stuff, but there's not many people who would go for flavored tobaccos. So there's no sort of conversation there, is there? You go to the supermarket, you pick your brand of product.
Once phoned one of my pals and gone, bro, they've only bought out a cigarette with a fucking clicky filter.
It's true though, but then when we look at it, and you look at like cigars and stuff, and cigars have a fucking community, and they sit on forums talking about on Facebook groups about fucking cigars.
Yeah, that's because they're fucking stupid. We've covered this lots of times. I think that the difference is, you know what I've been thinking, and I wanted to say quickly before, obviously that we've started this whole members thing, and we've started to get some people on board. And what I want to try and make clear to people is this isn't just about solely sponsoring 20 odd people, all who've got a spam shady vaping and Buildermore and Endless Mods and AF Juice and Birmingham Fog and everything on our website. Genuinely for me, I believe that we've been, if you look at most Facebook groups now, you've got very, very, very new people all in groups, and you've got very, very, very old school people all in groups. And there's not many groups that's got a mixture of old school and new school in there. And it's because the new school think they know everything, and the old school think that they know everything. And therefore, like you've just said, someone posts up now and says, hi, I've bought my first mech. How many wraps do I use? The first thing people say now is, don't fucking use a mech if you don't know how to use it, you fucking prick. You're going to blow yourself up and give all vapors a bad name. Or actually, what we should be doing is taking ourselves back 5 years when I used to post in groups saying, hi, just got my first Met Mod. I've got some 28 gauge Canthal because that was the first wire I ever fucking bought. And to be fair, someone said, mate, wrap as many fucking wraps as you like. You're never going to fucking blow the battery up because you've got 28 gauge Canthal. But then we actually spoke and we learned. And I think because the learning aspect of it has been taken away from having product out of the box that's good to go, there's not so much a need for a community. However, what I've noticed for the last 4 or 5 weeks personally is between the interaction in our own group and the interaction on Two Girls One Vape and the interaction with the likes of Gavin Blake from the review, whatever. Blake, what's his page? Gavin Tank Blake. There's various groups that ultimately has got a following of people that all seem to pull together around certain groups, even if that's between them 4 or 5 groups I've just mentioned. And something that I've been massively conscious of for the last 6 months is, and the first time I ever said it out loud is when I was literally talking and thinking on this show, was that we all think we're too good for the new school vapor. Not, and I'm using the word all as a very loose term, but actually, I see people doing cloud videos and I think, what a wanker. No, I'm being deadly serious. And actually, I've done my first video for fucking hell, I don't even know how many months, 6 months, 12 months the other day on a cube. And actually, it's one of the most responsive posts in our group. Now, whether that's because it's me, whether I've done a video, I don't know. Even Lee Hodges put, fucking hell, I've just seen your cloud video. And he laughed and whatever. And then he put up a little video on the post using his missus' smock device. And then he ended up buying a cube off me for his missus. Now, this isn't about me selling that cube, but it's about the fact that I believe that if we can get a number of people together from various companies promoting various products with the same goal, which is supporting people who vape on various levels. So one of the things we've done today with our team members is try and say, right, who is good at live feeding, who is good at building, who is good at mouth to lung vaping, who sub-ohm vapes, who mech vapes, who RTAs, who builds on drippers, who builds in series, who builds in quad series, who's got the knowledge of battery safety, who understands how to wrap a battery, and actually genuinely try and put a pool of people together that are free to roam around the internet. This ain't all about just pushing through my group or our page. Actually, just genuine people that will carry our name. And the reason why I wanted to carry a name is because I want them to have some sort of responsibility, some sort of accountability. I don't want people representing anything we're doing that's an arsehole. And the only person that's got the privilege of being an arsehole for what anything we represent is me and Tasha. That's the absolute truth of it. And on that basis, even down to the one of the things that I said to, good night, Babe, sweetheart, I love you too. One of the things that I said to the team members, very first chat that we had, the very first night we set up this group, was, this is not about spamming us as a business. It's not about spamming our products. It's not about just flooding the internet with shady vaping build. And because ultimately, I know as someone that's done that for 7 years, it's counterproductive for what lots of people think it does, because people just switch off to the fact that we've got that many people representing our brands. We've took on people that are sponsored by V-Juice. We don't stock V-Juice. I've took on Kevin, who's sponsored by ODB and Juice Source, and currently we don't stock ODB or Juice Source. I've took on people that have got their own shop. We've tried to sort of. I genuinely believe that we can build a community that ultimately would benefit all the retailers, because if we can get our community thing going, vape meets would be a thing again. People would want to get to shops and enjoy people's companies, and actually there's an opportunity to try and get people off regulated onto mechs, even if it's only a short-term thing, even if it's only learning how to build, understand understand battery safety, have a knowledge of what they're doing, because actually that need to want to grow that knowledge is what will build any community. The fact that they can come into our shop, buy a Vupu Drag 2 with the new tank on it, and it runs at 213 watts or whatever it is, and they can blow a cloud, they get decent flavour, they don't need to sit and discuss anything with no one. However, if they decide to venture into an RDA and they want some knowledge, I want the people around us that will point them in the right direction, even if they're using a Vapors Cloud RDA that we don't sell. It's not about that. It's actually genuinely, for me, about trying to build pools of people that have got a real good knowledge in all aspects of vaping, without looking at someone and going, oh, you fucking wanker, you shouldn't even be using an RDA if you don't know how to build. Because the reality is, when I had my first RDA, I didn't have a fucking clue how to build it. I went into a shop with an i30B Innokin on an SVD, thinking I was Mac Daddy Vapor, and the geezer in there blew a cloud on his mech device, and I felt like a prick. And I bought one because I felt like I should have one, and I got home, I didn't have a clue what to fucking do with it. Not a clue. But actually, I went onto pages, I went onto YouTube, and then once I'd got a knowledge enough to build it, then I started interacting on pages and saying, well, I've done this. I can remember wrapping 28 gauge canthal through the eye of my trainer and twisting my trainer to make twisted canthal.
Truth. Or a mug. I used to use a mug.
And I'd never seen anyone do it. But then actually, when I got into the groups, people were going, fuck the trainer, mate, choose a mug. Or I'm using a drill or whatever. Or someone would say, I've got a drill. And someone would say, fuck the drill, mate, whack it through the handle of a mug and spin it up. And then I started, then even Adam, who used to work for us, he'd come in the shop going, I've done a parallel build. I didn't know a parallel build from a Clapton, from a fuse Clapton, from a stagger Clapton. I didn't have a fucking clue what all these things were. But the only reason why I did know then is because I'd say to Adam, well, what's the difference between a Clapton and a fuse Clapton? And he'd explain it to me. Now, people are like, oh, you don't even know what the difference is between a Staggerton double back flipped fucking twisted fucking N200 coil. You're a dick, mate. You shouldn't even be vaping, bro. And it gets boring. It gets boring seeing them comments, seeing people getting belittled because they're vaping a certain type of device. I know people that were regularly winning cloud comps that regularly vape on a pod system now.
True.
And that is the way that the industry's gone. I haven't actively used a mechanical mod apart from for expos for 18 months. So I'll use a mech and I'll have a go on it and I'll fucking really, really enjoy it. But I've lost that thing where every morning I left my house, I made sure I got my build kit. Even this morning, I've gone to change a battery in my billet box at work, and I've still got 8 batteries in the charger, charged. I've got 2700s in my office. I've got 26650s. I've got a prototype Dirty in my drawer. I've got the prototype stacks for the Emperor mods. I've got an Emperor mod in there. I've got a prototype Pandemonium. There's plenty of gear in my office. I haven't got a build kit in there. Actually, I used to have a build kit in my office before. So... And I run a mech regular. Like, I was never ever doing all my videos on mech addiction and things like that just because I wanted to keep promoting endless mods. Because actually, 9 times out of 10, I was promoting a Scoundrel, an AV, a Comp Life, not even my own gear. I like the fact that I could build at 0.07 on a nice VCC 5A and blow a nice cloud. And I actually enjoy. I was a hobbyist sub-ohm vapor, through and through hobbyist. Done nothing to curb my smoking habit, hence why I've always mouth to lung vaped. And actually, what I've found over the last few weeks is I am using a mech, and even setting up that cube, I've genuinely been using the cube and a sub-ohm tank, and I've been enjoying the flavour. I'm still using 12 milligram menthol in this. I've got bloodsucker in there still, but it's a menthol-based, aniseed-based type eucalyptusy, that ilk of liquid. But actually, I've enjoyed vaping on Pingu. I've enjoyed the flavour, and then I will go down to the shop this weekend and I will pick up. I actually really like a cleaner mod. I will get myself a cleaner mod and I will set it up and I will use it. And I've probably got some in the house, to be fair, probably lots of them. But I fancy one of the LE ones, if I'm being honest, because I haven't even picked one up myself. But actually, when I've got that passion back, instead of me looking at someone's video blowing a cloud and going, what a fucking knobhead. Back in the day, I'd see him blow that and I'd be like, fuck you, mate. Let me get a re-wiki in this fuck yeah, and I'll get myself a video up. I'll show you how to blow a fucking cloud. And without being obnoxious, it's more the friendly rivalry that helps these things spread and grow and grow and grow and grow. So yeah. I just wanted to set the record straight, because I've seen people saying, fuck, man, Paul's got an army of people out there. This is not about us. It's not about Endless. It's not about Build 'em. It's not about AF, Birmingham Fog, or Shady Vaping. Some of the people within that team will be sponsored solely by us. Other people can't because they've already got sponsorship. But actually, I felt they had something to bring to the table. So for the first time ever in our 6 years of trading, Kevin's wearing an Endless hoodie, and they will all get a members hoodie at some point. And yet he's sponsored by a product we don't sell. I've never done that before because actually it was about us. It was about what we done. Now for me, it's more a wider thing. It's about everyone out there that's vaping, hopefully finding somewhere, whether it's on our group or not on our group, but someone who's sponsored by us to actively push and promote and be proactive in helping people with their journey, whatever that fucking journey may be. So that's what I wanted to just set the record straight on that, really, that's where I'm taking this. And It might be that we end up with 50 people. We started off originally saying 6 to 8. I think there's 20 odd people in the group chat now. Yeah. And actually today, Tom's put up that post about finding some people, some various areas of expertise, if that's the right word. And then let's go out there and find the people that need the help in them areas. So people can understand the difference between a freebase nick and a nick salt, can understand the difference between Cantha War and 980, understand the difference between a single a parallel mod and a series mod. Because back in the day, I was a bit like, I don't fucking know, mate. I wanted, for some reason in this one, my batteries have got to go one way, one the other. I didn't have a clue until I fucking fired it, and I was like, fuck, man, that's a bit thirsty for a 0.1. So
it's about bringing the excitement back, isn't it? We want that excitement back, as you said. It's not that you haven't got any passion for it; it's just the excitement for it's not there.
I can if I want to be honest about this, Tom, because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to create a false illusion with what we're doing. My excitement for vaping will never be what my excitement for vaping was 4 years ago. However, there's hundreds of people a day starting to vape that I believe are missing out on something that we didn't miss out on. We learned together, we grew together, we done together, we spoke together, we've done everything that we were doing. And my passion was never about the excitement. My passion was about someone not smoking cigarettes. And actually, you do lose sight of that because the business becomes the business, and as it grew, different priorities. You're looking at different things, and as we moved along our journey, there's people coming into it that are not on the same level. They're not mixing in the same circles. They become members of different groups. When they try and post on an existing, well-established group, they get shunned. That's the absolute truth of it. And actually, there's no reason for that to happen. And I want to try and consciously make sure anyone that's around us in the business is not doing that. And if we can extend our team further afield, then there's no reason why we can't start getting people to do cloud videos with smock aliens without taking the piss. There's no reason why we can't do a tutorial video, even on the Endless channel. It doesn't have to be. I don't want it to necessarily be on the Endless channel for getting people to go to the channel, because we've got no AdSense on it. We're not making nothing out of doing what we do on YouTube. It was just a platform for us to give a couple of hours a week back to the people without it being, oh, yes, we've got a new product this week and go and buy this from Shady Vaping. We've never done that on this channel. Yes, we'll push a new product by showing it and saying this is what we've got, but it's never been about, yeah, if you want to buy this, the links will be in the fucking comments afterwards, go down and check. We're not about that. So yeah, that's what I want to try and keep snowballing. If that team grows, ultimately, just by having them representing us, it means that I just wanted some control to be able to make sure if someone's acting like a cunt, that I don't want nothing to do with them. And actually, by having them under an umbrella, we can give them some direction about what I want to achieve. If people don't fit into that umbrella, I'll fuck them off. Not because I'm being some big I am, but just because there's something I believe we can achieve from doing this. And I believe the more people that get involved, the bigger it can get. The bigger it gets, the more it'll snowball. The more it snowballs, the more people will start to understand stupid things like why they're still smoking cigarettes, but they're sub-ohm vaping. And how many people, mate, I didn't even know what MTL meant. I can remember having a conversation with James Burr in inbox, and he said to me, what's my ADV? And I was like, I don't even know what that means, mate. Literally, I remember saying it to him, what's ADV? And he's like, all day vape. And I was like, oh, mental. But just like, as we start progressing, you lose that. You got new people coming in.
Other people don't get that. Yeah, I get that.
So it's just for me trying to strip it right the way back to basics, and then having people that have got the ability to interact with people at all levels. So if their level is just pod system, but they really want to try sub-ohming, most people that have started off on a pod system won't even understand the difference between mouth to lung vaping and lung vaping. And they will buy a sub-ohm kit, they'll try to mouth to lung it, they'll choke their fucking guts up and say, oh, I can't do that, I don't enjoy it. And as someone that's worked in a shop retailing, the amount of people that went through that sub-ohm phase, not having a fucking clue what lung inhaling was, and us stood in the shop like dickheads saying, no, you need to straight into your lungs and exhale. We'd literally show them how to vape.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, fucking hell, that amount of smoke coming out your mouth, it must be fucking ripping your throat a bit. It's only once they crack the whole concept of lung inhaling that they realise it's smooth, very, very flavoursome. And for me personally, it was about a warm, dense, thick vape. That's how I liked my sub-ohm vaping. So yeah, that's what I want to try and achieve. And I don't want that. That's it for tonight on this, because I don't want to kill the whole show just talking about that. But I just really wanted to set the essence of what we're doing, and people understand why we've got this members thing, and that it's not just about us. It's actually about growing a community across various Facebook groups, some that I'm not even a member of. So it's just like I said, it's not about me trying to capture this whole social media market, but actually just trying to have a team of people out there that will do the right thing by people. That's me done on that subject. But that sort of answers some of the question that Tom was on about, just about community. I just think it's gone because there's nothing to be learned, or the new vapor feels like there's nothing to be learned, because they've opened this box, they've filled it with low nic, high VG liquid, and they're using it and it works. That's it. What the fucking hell? There's no more to talk about thereafter.
There is, because you've got your ambassadors, and me and you had a conversation today about what's gone on Facebook, and especially in a group that's been on Facebook today, and ambassadors of the game and stuff like that, not being open and truthful and wanting to work with people. And that for me is, if you're like, the only way I can describe it is somebody being an ambassador, somebody who's a face. I don't like the word influencer. I hate that fucking word. If you're an ambassador of something and you're a face of something, and you're playing the game not as well as you should be, and you're sort of, that's the way I see the community going. If you can't be truthful with your people who go by every word you fucking say, how can you be an ambassador? That's my problem. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be very open and honest with what you're saying, how you're saying it, and how you go about it.
Just put a comment in there saying some shops near me don't allow their staff to use their own mods if the shop doesn't sell it, or vape liquid they don't sell, nor do we. And that's purely because that's literally like the man in the chip shop eating a KFC and someone going in saying, "Oh, fuck me, mate, that chicken looks nice, I'll have some of that," and going, "Yeah, we don't sell that, mate. Our chicken's fucking shit. You want to get yourself down to KFC?" It just makes no sense to me to have staff.
If your staff is using a product that you don't sell, you ain't stocking the right fucking products. It's that simple.
And that is exactly the point, Tom. And actually, if I've got a member of staff saying to me, "Oh, outside of work, I can't tell them what to use," I wouldn't even sack our staff if they smoke. And I'm saying this just to be honest. I feel like the last 2.5 years in this industry, it became about who got the biggest following, the most likes, the most smoke blown up their arse. And I was at Dale's the weekend, and someone said to me, "When was the last time you had a cigarette?" And I said, "Actually, yesterday morning." "Oh, fucking hell, do you still smoke?" "No, I don't. Some weeks I'll smoke 4 fags in a week. Some weeks I'll smoke 20 fags in a week. That depends how my week's going. There's weeks where I don't smoke any cigarettes." And gone are the days for me of condemning someone because they need to smoke a few cigarettes. Because if that's what you feel that you need, that's what you need. And actually, when I was smoking 60 fags a day, if I can smoke 20 cigarettes over a week, somewhere along the line, I've smoked a fucking huge amount less cigarettes in that week than I smoked before.
Used to do it every day, yeah.
Now, I would never go to a vape meet and smoke outside because it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me. And I'm going to say it here and now, one of our sponsors was smoking at Dale's. It doesn't sit right with me. And we've spoke to him about it. And for me, it's not about pretending that we do not smoke. It just don't sit right with me when someone that's promoting our gear is smoking at a vape meet. Now, that's not to say that we had a member of staff that was smoking. They were going through a hard time and they started smoking. And I know that they weren't smoking before. And actually, when he comes into the shop stinking of cigarettes, it's literally the equivalent of Marjorie at Fat Club standing at the front of Fat Club eating a fucking custard donut, telling every other cunt to eat lettuce. And actually, and all I said to him was, "Go home, have a shower, change your clothes, come back when you fucking don't smell like an ashtray. And if you're smoking, smoke, but don't have them hanging out your pocket. Don't be smoking outside the shop. Don't be smoking on your shift when you get home or when you're out away. Even if you're, and you know what? It sounds like I'm trying to like control the staff and what they do, but even if they're sat on the fucking bus and they get off the bus in my hoodie with a cigarette in their mouth and I see them, they're done. I don't want them working for me. get yourself home, sit in your, and I'm not saying you can't smoke outside of work, but don't ever smoke a cigarette when you're representing something that I do. And it's like, it's just trying to get this across that I know smoking is not good for you. I've done it for a long, long time, and I spent fucking probably in the 20 odd years that I smoked hundreds of thousands of pounds on cigarettes, literally burning, setting fire to money on the regular. Made me feel like shit. Made my chest feel like fucking Tom was sat on my chest 24 hours a day. And actually now, I enjoyed a cigarette. I was never ever one of them smokers that gave up smoking and then within 6 weeks was going, stop fucking smoking around me. If I had a fag now, I know I'd enjoy a cigarette, but actually I don't feel the need to have a cigarette every minute of every day. Before, I smoked 60 cigarettes a day purely out of habit, so I wasn't even enjoying them. I got to the point where I was just picking up a cigarette because I didn't have one in my hand. And I'll get people, and I hate it personally, the people that come into my shop after 4 weeks and go, I'll never touch one again. They're the most disgusting things, because I've never had the luxury of being able to say that. So I don't hate it because I think I hate it because I never felt that way. When I first started vaping, and genuinely, I've gone through 3.5 years exclusive periods of never touching a cigarette. So it's not like I've always been a dual user. But there was times where I vaped exclusively, and Tasha smoked exclusively at the start, before even we had the business, when I first started on a cigarette. And actually, she'd smoke in the car next to me while I was vaping. And I was never coughing and spluttering. I was never like, oh my God, you can't smoke that around me. I just chose to try something different. I actually chose vaping originally for financial reasons, not for health reasons. And actually, so many people lost their way, I think, in the industry. And what I was going to say very quickly is, when you've got someone smashing up an IQOS just for likes on a video, it's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke, because I know that person still smokes cigarettes, which is cool. I haven't got an issue with that. But how can you stand there slagging off big tobacco when you're supporting them? Now, the reason why I don't sell IQOS in my shop, not is because I'm anti-IQOS and anti-big tobacco. It's because it does not fit in a vape shop, in my opinion. And if my other business that I haven't got, but if I did have it theoretically, was selling fucking mop buckets, newspapers, cigarettes, cans of pop, I'd gladly put the IQOS in there. So and it's like CBD. I've not got this umbrella issue with CBD. I've got an umbrella issue with CBD in a vape shop. If you want to stock something in your vape shop that's CBD, stock vape liquid that you can put in a vape tank that we can sell the hardware for. There's no way I'm going to sell fucking weed in my shop, whether it's legal or illegal, in a device where you've got to light it while I'm trying to promote the fact that people don't need to smoke cigarettes. So I just want to make, so these are the things I want to do, but I want to do it openly and honestly. And actually, if someone's dual using, let them know it's not a major issue, because actually the more support they get on vaping, there's a very good chance they'll drive it down to a few a day to none a day, to maybe a couple a week, to a couple a month. And when they want it, they need it, they smoke it, they enjoy it, but then they don't crucify themselves and they get straight back on the vape. And it's a bit like going to Fat Club and going, fucking hell, you've put £2 on. And the woman at the front saying, you fucking fat cunt. You'd be like, oh, fucking hell, man, I'm not even going to go back next week in case I've put weight on again. But actually, I've been to Fat Club and I've spent months going to Fat Club in the past. And just by saying to someone, you know what, you've put £2 on, it's not a big deal. You've lost 4 stone, mate. Go home, get your head back into gear, come back next week and see what you've lost. That's enough for some people to go, you know what, you're fucking right, actually, I'm going to get back on it. And next week they come, they've lost £4 or £5 to get a bit of fire back in their belly. But if every week fucking Big Bell went and whistle going, whoa, all the fatties who put weight on, stand up so we can fucking boo you. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. And actually, this industry became about being sponsored. It became about having the biggest fucking group, the biggest page, the biggest amount of people following them, the most likes on a comment, the most likes on a video. And for me, single-handedly, that ruined this industry. So I'm just pointing it out there that we need to strip it back to basics. And anybody that we sponsor doesn't need to be exclusive to us anymore. They need to be exclusive to promoting vaping in a good light. Simple as that. Even if they're a dual user, there's still a place for that in the market, as there's a place for an IQOS, as there's a place for blue, as there's a place for Nicorette patches, as there's a place for fucking Nicorette gum. Not for me personally in more shops, but there's a place from smoking cigarettes to not smoking cigarettes. And all these things have got a place somewhere in that spectrum. There you go. I've said my bit.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's very refreshing because there is so much negativity over it, and especially like you say with the dual use and stuff like that, is we should cut out the negative and be more positive. And the more positive we are and work together, we can get this industry back to or even better than it was before. So I agree with that. So we're gonna do Ask the Boys. And Ask the Boys has got a question that I was gonna put in halfway through that and say, well, is this is one of the questions? Let's have it. I'm gonna read it to you.
Evan, is it still there?
Yeah.
Where the fuck's that question gone? If you could, it's from Anthony Sullivan, and it's a really good question. Is there, if you could go back to when vaping first started, what would be one of the things you would change to transform the way industry is as we know it now? Apart from sub-ohm tanks, I honestly think sub-ohm tanks partially fucking a fucking cloud box out of a fucking package is one of the things that negatively changed everything for me, because you stopped learning, you stopped doing Ohm's law, you stopped doing battery safety, because you could literally get a cloud out of a box. And for me, that's one of the things I would change. What about yourself, guys?
You go first, Kevin, because my answers end up being 45 minutes.
What I would change, I think personally, I wouldn't change how the industry's gone. I would personally probably change things what I've done and been part of. Obviously, yes, we all did grow, and it did come to that stage where you didn't pass that sort of knowledge on. So I would like to carry on and do a lot of that previously, instead of coming back to it now. I felt personally that people didn't need the knowledge, but obviously it was 100% wrong. Everyone obviously does need that knowledge, but obviously not giving it out has obviously changed the industry in a whole, because people just go to a shop now, like I said, buy a sub tank and they blow a cloud. There's none of that information what's passed on no more. So I think if the people who first got into vaping with the knowledge what they had, if they carried on with it, obviously I think the industry might be in a different position it is in.
And I'll reiterate exactly what both of you two have said. I can remember doing a fucking video, actually, the day that the Atlantis dropped in our shop. And the first video I got sent was of Lee Carrington. I don't know, Lee's probably not watching, but Lee Carrington now is more of a safer vapors type vapor. He's very squonk. In fact, UK squonkers. He's always active on that page. He uses a lot of decent high-end squonk gear. I can remember someone from probably Tasha or someone sending me a video of Lee Carrington blowing a cloud in our shop with an Atlantis, and me being fucking mind blown by this. This was a tank out of a box with a 0.5 coiling. And I can remember that night, I went straight down to work and I set up the tank and I was like, fuck my life, this is fucking next level vaping right here. Now, I was using a mech at that point, and as much as it didn't replicate the mech, it quickly switched a lot of mech users straight onto a sub tank, because it became so much more convenient than a dripper. Now, there was lots of hardcore RDA users that went back to RDA because ultimately, in hindsight, they weren't that fucking good. But they were such a leap forward for their time that followed by the sub tank, followed by us dropping the Magnus with a 0.2 dual vertical coil in there, and this whole revolution of sub-ohm vaping. My video that night was, people, you can now get a fucking cloud out of the box. Me promoting that, you do not need to be educated now, because the device and the tank will keep you safe. So for anyone that wanted to blow clouds 6 months ago but didn't want to go on to the likes of, when mech addiction weren't even a thing then, but UK vape trades, which was a massive group of its day, they'd be like, yeah, you can't use a fucking mech unless you've been to science school, because otherwise you'll just kill yourself and give all vapors a bad name. So I was trying to counteract this, because I always hated it then, but I personally didn't have the knowledge to start educating people. So I used to see these posts and think, I'm lucky that I've got enough people around me, whether that be staff or people on our group or people within groups that I interacted with. I felt comfortable enough to inbox them and say, mate, I ain't got a fucking clue what I'm doing with these. I've just bought some 22 gauge. What should I build? 6 wraps, 3 mil, give you around about 0.12. Brilliant. I'll try that. And I knew I weren't going to kill myself. But because I'm not an idiot, I very quickly understood Ohm's law. I very quickly understood my device. I very quickly understood if something didn't feel right. I didn't keep pressing the fire button on my mech until it got right. I took the cunt apart and looked at why it didn't feel right and put it back together. And if it didn't feel right, I'd take it apart again until it felt right. So sub-ohm tanks almost certainly created what we've got today 3 years on or 4 years on from, I don't even know when, just Google quickly, Tom, when the Atlantis first dropped. I would say probably 3.5 years ago, actually, because if not more, because we're 3 years into Endless at the end of this month. So it might even be 4 years ago. 2014,
2014, 4th of November 2014.
So there we go. Where are we? We're on the 14th of November, so 4 years ago. And in 4 years, the whole industry has changed to the point where that capability out of the box has taken away the knowledge. Therefore, because there's no knowledge needed, you don't feel the need to interact with anyone. But you go onto most vape groups now that are even fairly active, and there's not many of them that are very active, in my opinion.
Not like they used to be, no.
More about just people who know each other through the scene having a laugh and a joke. You scroll back 2.5 years on Mech Addiction, and that page was active as fuck every single night, and there'd be 6, 10, 12, 20 posts, all active, all with the same people, flipping between 2 or 3 posts, having a laugh and a joke, or saying, fuck me, as if you just drilled that hole in your RDA, what does it perform like? Well, as someone that was starting to create our own devices, I used to take a massive interest in that, because my goal when we first launched Endless was, how can we create something that means the end user, one, the biggest thing was gets a good quality product for as little money as we can sell it for. And the second thing was, how do we give them something out of the box that doesn't need changing? And that's why I said a few weeks ago, we've not gone away from the V2S deck in 3 years because I don't believe I need to. It does what it has to do. It does it exceptionally well, in my opinion. It's easy to build on. It'll take any build that you want to throw at it. It's not hard to build on. It is what it is. So therefore, why do I need to go away from that? Why do I need to have fancy clamps or fancy this or fancy the other? And actually, that's become more and more a thing where people don't get excited about new drops anymore. Mods drop into this market and they don't even. I can see a Met mod now and not even have a clue what the fuck it is. Before, we'd all be talking about it 8 weeks before the drop.
Yeah.
And it's just like everything, every day rolls into every day, rolls into every day. Every product rolls into every product, rolls into every product. Smock have released 602 million mods in the last fucking 2 years. And 601 million of them are the same device in a different coat. They're all around about the £60 mark. There's nothing different coming out. We peaked at 213 watts for 218 650s. Doesn't get any better than that. That's it.
Do you think it's the excitement though, Paul? Do you think, because obviously, because I'm not going to say hype, because hype for me is used in a total different way in this industry than it should be. When people say hype, they literally say it's a hype thing. It's going to last a week and off it goes. Yeah. Do you think it is the excitement? There's no excitement. People aren't buzzing about what the next thing is because there isn't that next thing. What do you think? Do you think it is?
I mean, it has to be that, Tom. I mean, at the end of the day, if something revolutionary drops tomorrow in the market, it's not going to drop tomorrow because I'm only currently working on it, but we'll drop something revolutionary. But I mean, if something revolutionary dropped in this market tomorrow and it dropped through social media where the likes of me, you, James Burr, Kevin, Taz at Grey Eyes, Ibs at Innovapors, the lads from the Yorkshire Vapor, Dale at the Yorkshire Vapor, where we actually start having a conversation saying, fucking hell, mate, have you seen that new device? It does this, it does that, it does the other. that doesn't happen anymore because it does temperature control. It does 213 watts. It's got a floating 510. It comes with the sub tank. The sub tank's got 952 different coils for it. Some of them are mesh, some of them are stainless, some of them are fucking micro, some of them are Canthal, some of them are made to lung, some of them are sub ohm, some of them are 0.1, some are 0.15, some are 0.2. It's just much of a muchness. So there's nothing to get excited about. But if someone all of a sudden says, we've brought out this RDA and you can snap a ceramic coil into the middle of it, and you don't have to put any cotton on it. You just drip your liquid in the pot and you fucking vape it away. Everyone would go, what the fuck's that, man? I need to fucking have a look at that.
Mm.
So is Kevin just sitting there very still with a big smile?
No, it's listening. It's like me listening.
I'm just listening to what you're saying, Paul.
Quiet and listen.
I thought you'd froze, mate. You're very good at doing that still position. So, I mean, I just think for me, it's about, like when we launched the Met Mod, when we launched the Endless, genuinely, we were at the bottom of a curve that was just about to climb. And I felt that this was climbing for 6 months before. We were developing that mod for 6 months. We were fortunate enough that we rode the biggest wave in Met Mod in the history of vaping, as we know in the UK. And actually, that literally was about who can get the most conductivity out of the mod, who can get the least amount of threads on the mod to drop voltage drop, who can get the best machining on the threads to drop voltage drop, who can get the best finishes, who can get the best machining on the mod. We got to a point where I remember doing a live feed and it always sounded like I was blowing smoke up my own arse. I remember Benny with the Scoundrel, and I remember him putting like a .07 build on it. And I can remember him holding it, firing it, just going, firing it for about 15 seconds. And I was like, I can do that with the £60 clean mod. The only time it stops firing smoke off the RDA is when I run out of fucking liquid on the cunt. So if I keep dripping it while I'm firing it, the battery's got to the point where I could run a 0.1 continuous and it wouldn't fucking vent. So as long as I kept dripping my atty, and I could fire it all day long and create lots and lots and lots of vape in my living room. So as we went through that curve, as it goes, we didn't even change our switch design. I was quite happy with it, to the point where we've put it back onto the new Pandemonium after trying 4 new switches. We've gone back to basics and put the old switch on, and it works a fucking treat. But actually, when the likes of Soy bought out their clutch system, Broadside copied that clutch system. Let's be honest, it's a fucking direct clone of what Soy done. That switch system's clever as fuck. In my opinion, it's probably the best switch system on the market for a mod. However, the reason why I never ever clone that type of switch is because I don't like the fact it relies on a rubber band. The only reason why I never copied the switch design, because I could have copied it, I could have made it slightly better than the Soys, in my opinion, because I fucked about with it for a long time. And I fucked about with it is, how do we do this without how can we do it with spring, internal spring? So it can still slide over the pin, it can still spread out, it can still touch the body while it's hitting the pin. So it's got perfect conductivity. When that band snaps, you've got a mod that's firing in your pocket.
Yeah. And
it will snap because of the very nature of it. So yes, the switch is very clever. Yes, it conducts exceptionally well. Yes, it works really well. Would I use that switch? No, personally. So, but we went through that journey. We went through that journey of taking apart every fucker's mod. Who can remember the 510 in the Scoundrel conserve with the ball bearing?
Yes.
Clever as fuck. For me, that was one of the most innovative things on a mod, where just stick a ball bearing in there. It's 510, floating 510.
Yeah.
And it's things like that I used to look at and think, fucking hell, man, how the fuck did I not even think of doing that? But all them things have been done now. To the point where Chris and I were looking at ball bearing in our switches to give constant contact through the switch and the housing.
But then for NATO, brought the ball bearing into the switch, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they used it as an actual firing, didn't they?
Yes.
We actually had, I didn't even got the switch here, it's on my desk at work, but we actually put ball bearings into the switch housing. So as the pin was firing up inside the switch housing, it actually had 4 ball bearings that rolled up and down the body as it went through. So it was literally constant contact between the pin, the ball bearing, and the switch housing.
Yeah.
Now, as it stands at the moment, if you're running our switch with a magnet in there, you're literally relying on the pin leaning over slightly and touching the body of the switch housing. Now that happens because it happens. You can't stop it from happening. If you've got a spring in there, the reason why, in my opinion, the spring works slightly better is because the spring is a constant contact for the two sides of that switch. So it does help with contact. Like people will go, "Oh, silver plated springs is a load of bollocks." It is, but a spring isn't, because a spring does maintain a constant contact between the button itself. So in our mod anyway, it literally, because the spring's pressed against the one side of the housing and the other side of the switch, it's literally contacted continuously through that spring. So it will help if you're using magnets. The two magnets don't even touch each other by the time the firing pins hit the bottom of the battery. So then you're relying on the firing pin touching the body and then that being the circuit. So we will go back to spring on all of our mods because it does help with conductivity. Do I think £60 for a silver plated spring is worth it? Not in a fucking million years, and people that bought them are mad, in my opinion. Unless you got to the point where you just wanted something extra to stick on your mod for 60 quid because you were bored, and then knock yourself out. I get that. What I didn't like was manufacturers saying, yeah, we've got solid silver springs, mate, it's going to make your mod it hard. And you're using a stainless steel RDA with a stainless steel 510. Anything you just gained in the spring, you lost in your fucking 510, mate.
Yeah.
So it was like things like, I just felt that we got to a point where, because we'd exhausted most concepts, that people started trying to blind people with smoke and mirrors by saying, yeah, the reason why this one hits like a fucking truck. They're saying that because they were fucking sponsored. So the whole sponsorship thing, the whole vendors trying to get this whole team of people around them, ruin the industry, if I'm being honest. And actually, as a company, we've never had a mass amount of sponsors and followers in that way. I've never sponsored 60 people to have our free mods and then all of a sudden hit the fucking social media platforms and claim that we're the best in the world. I didn't feel I needed to do that, and we didn't. And that's why now I want a different concept about people that we're sponsoring. It's more about vaping than it is about us as a business. That way, then they've got the choice to do their explanation of something with someone else's liquid that we don't sell. Yeah. Instead of just owning it all around us, because it starts to become fickle. You can't trust what someone's saying if they're sat there in an endless hoodie, an endless fucking snapback with an endless mod, some build and wire, and some AF juice saying this is definitely the best setup I've ever had, because it looks like bollocks. And it does, and I think it every time I see someone doing that. And I've always thought that, which is why I've never pushed for this massive sponsored endless team, because I don't think it carries a lot of weight. So that's
going back to, as you say, going back to basics and people being honest. Because I'll be honest, when I go on Facebook, it's not very often I ever see honesty, like negativity, or not necessarily negativity. People saying, "Well, you could do this too." I remember us, and we've all done this at a point. And we've turned around and gone, if it added this, like in a juice, for instance, if it just had that little bit more of this in there, or this mod just had that on there, it'd be perfect. There's none of that sort of people turning around and going, I just like you to change that, or I think if you change that, it'd work better. There's none of that. It's literally just like basically balls deep. You know what I mean? You either love it or you fucking hate it. There's none of that criticism there to make any device better. It's either shit or it's the best thing you've ever had. When I know people are sat there going, if they'd have just changed this, or if they'd just done this, or they'd done that, and giving positive feedback rather than just saying it's the best or it's shit, I think that is another thing that has also changed. There's none of that honesty where people are saying, rather than going, do this, they're going, fuck it, I'm going to change this and I'm going to make this my fucking self.
And I can honestly say, over our 3-year journey of Endless, I've had people inbox me and say, I love the mod, but I don't like the deck, or I love the mod, or I don't like the switch. And obviously, I'll take that on board. I do take it on, but I've never been, and I've said it lots and lots of times, I've never been that guy that's run around the internet going, you're not allowed to say that about Endless, you can't say that about Endless, you must love Endless. If you've bought one of my mods and you don't like it, I don't give a shit. And it's not because I don't give a shit that you don't like it. I don't give a shit enough to be on there saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, mate, that fucking mod's brilliant. Now, what I have gone on there and argued is that our voltage drop was on par with any other mod on the market, and a lot better than some mods that were out there that were claimed to be the hardest hitters. So on that basis, when someone's saying, yeah, the reason why that is, mate, there's so much voltage drop on an endless mod, I know that there's not a massive voltage drop on an endless mod. And if you've got a massive voltage drop on your endless mod, you need to clean the cunt. Because when they're put together properly, there isn't an issue.
But it's going back to that care as well, and going back to saying about old school and how I can remember, and Kev will fucking vouch for this. I remember him cleaning his mod probably every 2 nights.
Yeah.
Clean the mod on a Monday, by Wednesday, the mod would be stripped and fucking clean by Wednesday. There's none of that care. There's none of that. Let's look after our devices. It's always somebody else's fucking fault.
Yeah, you know what, mate? They don't understand. They don't understand. I can remember someone saying to me, even we like the sleeve mod, when we first bought the sleeve mod out, we'd got the thread on the switch, we got the body, we got a thread on the 510 or the hybrid. And then if you stacked it, you got another thread on your stack, and then you got the thread at the top. Then you got your 510 screwing into the hybrid or the 510 floating 510. And actually, Todd done a voltage drop on that. And we were running with a better voltage drop than an authentic Nemesis, which had a very, very low voltage drop. And someone was going to me, every single thread will cause a voltage drop. And I was trying to say, only if it's a shit thread. If it's machined badly, you've potentially got so many points of contact for arcing that it could actually kill the mod off. If the machining is good on the threads, and when it's locked together, it becomes one piece of steel in essence, you won't get no voltage drop through it.
You get hardy bastards over tightening it.
No, but I mean, I always... The one thing I liked about our mod is that actually we didn't get any significant voltage drop through the switch, through the hybrid. We always use copper pins in the 510 right from the very start. Then we started silver plating them. The only reason why I silver plated them wasn't because all of a sudden we'd turned a 4.2 volt battery into a 9 volt battery because our fucking 510 pin silver plated. The reason why I've done that was because it helps with arcing, and it doesn't stop it from arcing, but it makes it much, much easier to clean. When you've got, I've seen people's 510s on their RDAs and they're fucking minging the 510 pinnies, and they wonder why the mod's getting warm, or they wonder why the fucking ATI's getting warm and it's not conducting properly. They've got a fucking ½ inch of shit on the bottom of their pin.
And it comes back to what you're saying, education is key. You know what I mean? If they're not going to listen, they're not fucking getting this education. They're not bothered. You're not moving forward, even down simply just to cleaning your mod. I've seen some posts of minging mods and they wonder why there's a problem with it. It's minging because you don't take care of your shit. And is that because, I can just go out and buy another mod because the cheapest chips or whatever? It's not just about endless products and looking after them products. I'm on about every single product that is out there. No one seems to give a flying fuck about care. You know, I ain't got fucking hundreds of pounds just to be throwing about because I can't be asked to clean mods. Got to keep your mods clean, contacts clean. If you like a patina on your mod, for instance, if you've got a copper endless and you like a patina on your mod, always make sure that your fucking contacts are clean. Do not patina your contacts.
Exactly.
It's down to education, and people seem to not give a fuck. And it goes back to when we said about what would we change, and for me, it's that education. Once the sub-ohm tanks were released, everyone sort of took a back step and were like, I don't need to know how to wrap a battery, I don't need to know Ohm's law, I don't need to know this, I don't need to know that, because at the end of the day, all I'm doing is screwing my tank on, putting my liquid in, whack my batteries. It's still to this day, I still see pictures of fucking batteries that have torn and they're shoved in mods, like literally insulation tape around a fucking battery. You know what I mean? That's what pisses me off, is because somebody can just say, I don't know how to wrap a battery, but they don't. They just fucking carry on using it rather than turning around and saying, I can't do this, I don't know what this is, I don't know what that is, because they feel like they look like a twat on social media. And we've always said, as I have done, I know you have, Paul, I know Kev does, if you have an issue and you need to ask a question, no question is a silly fucking question. And I don't think anybody still does that anymore.
See, I'm absolutely with JB there. He's just put up there. To be fair, I've opened probably £1,000 worth of Pandoras to save cleaning them. I used to do exactly the same thing. if I was using a brass clean mod and it needed cleaning, I would literally, when I was down in the shop, I'd screw my RD off and screw it onto another brand new mod because it was easy for me to do that than it was to clean the cunt.
Yeah, but that's your product. That's your baby. You can do that. You can go in the shop and pick up whatever you want. You guys can do that freely. Not everybody can do that. So don't think that everybody else can do it. I'm not saying that to you. That don't think that. What I'm saying is you guys have got that. You know, you can do that and happily do that. But
we've had an issue since Expo with someone that bought an Emperor. And Tom knows this because Tom was talking to him and actually says to me, will you take over before I tell him to go fuck himself, or words to that effect. But basically what he was saying was where the contact at the bottom of the 510 hits the battery, he's getting arcing. And I was like, you'll get that on any mod. You'll get that on our other mod where the firing pin's sat away from the negative, because there's that much power fucking surging out of that battery every time you hit the firing pin that you'll always get some sort of marking on the bottom of the battery. If you flip the battery, I mean, I always run an ME or an Emperor positive down because you can. So I'm still getting an arc mark on my negative the same way that I would. But the 510 pin silver plated, so it just wipes off, and you get the same marks on the battery that I got on any of my mods. Didn't make any difference to me. And he was going, no, I've run loads of mods, mate. I've never had arcing. You must be running like a 2.4 ohm build there.
You can get arcing on regulated mods.
Huh?
You get arcing on regulated mods.
You can.
Yeah.
It's just, and this is where we're going back to too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Listen to what people are saying. You're getting that information. Take that on board. Put it in a fucking regulated mod. Run a fucking 0.07 like you're doing on your mech, and expect it not to fucking blow up because you've got a safety aspect on your fucking mod. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as everything is safe. It's not happening. And just this education thing is just, it's silly. It's arcing. It's every fucking mod arcs. You are using electricity. You are putting stupid amounts of power through a fucking mod and then telling me why is it arcing? Well, no shit, Sherlock. If you fucking put 2 screwdrivers on end up battery, you're gonna get bigger than a fucking arc mark. It's annoying, but it goes back to the old days. Nobody wants to fucking listen. Them days, everybody was learning together, and we were sat on Hangouts building. We were sat out when new batteries were getting launched, like VTC 5As. Fucking hell, the 5As are out there, the best fucking bats going. Everyone needs to get 5As. There's none of that. It's just, we'll put whatever batteries in you want, run your fucking sub-tank, and off you go. There's no education. You still need that education. And there is people out there that do want to be educated, but they're too scared to say anything.
Yeah, I agree.
It's mental. It is how shit changes, and I know there's a lot of people that haven't seen this change because I'm probably Kev. What are you now? 6 years. I'm going into my 7th year. Paul's going into his 7th.
Yeah, about 6 years.
Going into 7th year, and from what we've seen and being educated by, we educated ourselves, and we all spoke together and we all worked together to educate.
Well, we educated each other, mate, because we would. I know you guys, for instance, used to sit in hangouts on the regular.
Yeah, every night.
No, actually, I've never done that because I didn't want to sit with you bunch of dickheads. No, I mean, I've never done that because I didn't have the time to spend 3 hours. But actually, there were certain people. I was obviously working down the shop in the early days, and my whole learning curve of mech use was being in the shop, serving customers, learning from some of our customers who had a much greater knowledge than me because they'd been vaping for 3 or 4 years then, and they'd always used mech. So actually, but they would spend the time with me. And the minute I learned and fully understood something, I can remember spending an hour putting a build on someone's new mech for them because I wanted them to understand. And actually, I wrapped the calls for them and I put it into the RDA and I pulsed it and I strummed them and I pulsed it and I strummed them. And I took the fucking build back out and I give him the wire and the screwdriver. And I was like, now, yeah, have a go. And then when he was putting the calls into his deck, I was like, right, you need to just try and center them a bit more. Get the screwdriver, especially in the old 4-post where they would be opposing each other and you'd get your screwdriver in and push it over so your coil was in. I mean, back in the day, we all run our fucking coils, one on the left, one on the right. And it actually, I can remember centering coils before I seen anyone else centering coils because it used to grip my shit that my coils weren't in the middle. And I used to then start pre-bending my legs. Now, there was obviously other people doing that, but not in the circles that I was mixing it. So I'm not proclaiming to be a leader in... Huh?
Pre-bends, you get slagged off these days for pre-bends, don't you? Down to stuff like that. Oh, you're pre-bending your curls already. So it's just the stigma behind it. You know what I mean? Fucking pre-bends, you get slagged off just because you're making sure you can fit your coils in right.
Yeah, because I don't know, mate. It's a crazy, crazy industry.
Right, let's get some other questions before we start blowing our pops and pushing it was 7 years ago. This one's for you, Paul. What is your favourite memory from the day you started Endless and Shady Vaping up till now?
My favourite memory,
yeah,
was when we had £12 million in the bank. No, I'm joking. You know what? Genuinely, some of my favourite memories of the whole thing was people coming back into the shop after a week, a day, a month, 6 months, saying, "I just wanted to say thanks."
Yeah.
For helping me, because some of them people would come in with this absolute mindset that they were only going to dual use right from the get-go because they were trying to convince their partner that this isn't going to work. So they'd come in and say, "Look, I'm still gonna buy me 10 fags today. I just won't smoke as many." And I say to them, "Look, if you've got the will to give up, I promise you don't need to smoke them fags." Because they'd always go, "I'm going to go home and I'm going to smoke these last 7 fags. Then I'll set me vape up." And you say, "You're fucking not. Let's set your vape up in the shop so you understand how it works and what it does. Take your 7 fags home with you, keep them on you, keep your lighter on you. Don't get to the clucky heroin addict stage of I need to smoke a cigarette because I haven't got none. Enjoy the vape. I promise you'll be surprised how many cigarettes you don't smoke." And they would come back in after, like normally the Saturday customers, because I worked all day every day on a Saturday, so they'd come back in and they'd only go in the shop of a Saturday and they're like, "Mate, I've not had a fucking fag since I left there." And 6 months later, when they're coming in to buy the new device and treat themselves, there were like blokes who'd come in and say, "Do you know what I mean? The missus been on holiday with the money I saved from smoking." And it's things like that that genuinely spurred me on more than ever the money. Now, obviously, the other one memory that I've got that I've said a few times is when we was in Wales last, I don't know if it was last year or the year, in fact, it was the year before last. And we went to the circus, and at the interval, I went outside for a vape, and the bloke across the way from me was using a clean mod. And he was just random at he weren't at vape events. Obviously now I get to vape events, and even at Dale's Bonfire the other day, there was people using dirty mods, people in endless snapbacks that weren't even with me, people in endless hoodies and stuff like that. That honestly still gives me a proper buzz inside to think that we've created a brand that people like, love, whatever, wherever it is between like it and love it, but actually enough to wear our product, buy our hoodie, use our mod. Someone came over and shook my hand at Dale's and said, "I just wanted to say, I love what you do. I've got a clean mod." I didn't know the geezer from Adam, and I still don't know who it was, but I was like, "Thank you. It means a lot." And it genuinely does mean a lot to me that someone would come over and shake my hand and say, "I just want to say, well done, mate. What you're doing is I love, and I've got your mods and I love them." But the bloke at the circus, he was using his clean mod, and when the little adjuster inside the switch housing, it can move, so the switch starts moving out, and it was protruding out the switch housing, and that fucking grates on me bad. And I was vaping. I was on a little mouth to lung device or something, and I was vaping away. And I seen the geezer seen me, and I knew he'd said to his missus, "That's Paul Harrison from Endless Mods." And then I felt like a bit of a knob, so I was just vaping away and whatever. Me and Tasha were talking. And I'd already said to her, "If that geezer over there's got a clean mod, man," because it's a mad feeling. Honestly, I can't explain it, but it's weird. And in the end, as I walked back into the tent, he sort of made eye contact with me, but I know he didn't want to go. I know he didn't want to sort of fanboy me. So I just says, "All right, mate, I noticed you using a clean mod, fair play to you." I said, "But can I just fucking sort your switch out for you?" And I took the switch off and I fucking wound it back in. And he says, "Mate, I didn't even know why that had happened." So we had like a little 5-minute chat, but they're the things that have always meant the most to me, not the money. I love the fact that back in the day, someone could post up and say, "I'm looking for a clone mech mod, who should I use?" And actually 8 out of 10 answers was Shady Vaping, because we'd created that. People knew that we'd done that and we'd done it well. So it's the accolade part of it for me, not because I want smoke blowing up my arse. It always reassured me that what I was doing properly. all of them
yeah.
things that reassured me that we were running our business right, we were moving in the right direction. They're the things that have always and still to this day mean the most to me.
Love that. I got one more question for you, and then we've got some other questions. But the question is, I've been messaged this last week and this week, and I didn't mention it, but I know you've answered this question before, but can you quickly go over it? Loki wants to know, how did you come up with the name Endless, Shady Vaping, and the name for the mods?
Shady Vaping's a long story, man. So I'm not even going to start saying that. But the quick version is I started a page called 50 Shades of Birmingham that became very big. I ended up writing a couple of books because I'm actually a published author. I just want to put that out there. I ended up, no, I mean, we self-published 2 books, printed them, dispatched them, done them and whatever. I sold 80,000 copies, which was just crazy. And actually, when I started the vaping page, I launched it through the 50 Shades of Birmingham Facebook page. And so that's where Shady Vaping come from. No other reason than that, because I was known as Shades on that page, and it was just an easy platform to put it into the market, and it worked exceptionally well for us. Endless Mods was a choice between, I was literally going to call it Options, which is what we've got on the new snapbacks. What's on your snapback, Kev? Just Endless Mods or
Endless Mods UK? It's the Endless Mods one.
We've done some with just Endless on. We've got Endless Mods UK and some, and the latest ones we dropped at Expo just had Options. And we was going to I wanted to call them Mod Options, just because I had this thing in my head about, I always had this thing in my head about changeability and customization and the whole thing of mobile phones back in the day, where you could buy cases and you could buy flashing aerials and all them knobby things that we all did, that actually 10 years later, when you'd got one out of the box that was good to go, you look back and realize how cringy it is. And what I've seen was, when we started selling ego kits, and we got pink batteries, blue batteries, red batteries, silver batteries, black batteries. We also had pink C4s, blue C4s, red C4s, clear C4s, black C4s. We had blue fucking lanyards, pink lanyards, red lanyards. We had red cases, blue cases. If someone come in and they had a blue battery and they wanted a new C4 and I had no C4s, I would say 5 out of 10 people would go, you know what, give me a red clear Moiser. I'll take a new red battery. Actually, I'll take a new red lanyard as well. And I have a red case. So I very quickly started to understand that this customization thing is just inherent in people. And it is. And when we launched Endless, I had a very long conversation over various amounts of time with Sheikh Farhan, hero at Signature Tips, who was a friend of mine 20 years ago, before ever vaping was a thing. And when I realised, I actually got in touch with Sheikh again after a long time because of drip tips, because I was looking for drip tips. I looked on the internet, kept coming up with eBay listings, looked at the address, and I said to my missus, "That's my pal's fucking place, that is." I drove down there. We sort of reunited. He was making tips, I was selling products, and I was saying to him, "Mate, we need to make an RDA and a mech mod, and we need to make it so if you want a copper, you can change it to copper. You ain't got to buy a whole new mod. If you want a stainless steel top cap, you just buy the stainless steel top cap." And that's why all of our decks are the same size. You can run any of our caps on any of our decks. It was something that I wanted to do right from the get-go. So I was obviously using Limitless, which was that idea of changeability. I didn't believe for a minute that Limitless was Limitless, because it was fucking hybrid and it was single, and you could change the sleeve, and they didn't even have their own RDA at the time, so it weren't that fucking limitless in my opinion. Although I love the concept of it. I had issues with the switch on the Limitless, so we used their design of switch, but we changed it to a 3-rail internal, 3-rail external. So actually, we tried to rid the issues that I constantly had with Limitless switches. And then I remember literally saying to Tasha one night, "Look, this is the concept that I want to do with the Met mods. I'd got the samples in, I'd got the prototypes from China, including a 34mm sleeve mod, which is exactly what the Endo is now. And I've got one in the house somewhere. Yeah, I've got a 34mm sleeve mod, which was exactly the same concept as a 25mm, but it was 26,650 sleeve mod, single stackable. The only difference was, like our 25mm, the stack sleeve was a one piece instead of the 2 sections. And I said to Tasha, Options or Endless? And she was like, Endless. And I was like, I actually preferred Options. And I was like, oh, what about options? And she was like, it's fucking hot chocolate, you dickhead. And, I was like, "Oh, goodness." And somewhere in my case, I've got an endless button that I had done before we'd even come up with that logo, and it was looked like a number 8 on it. Number 8 with just 2 lines missing where to make it look like it had gone underneath. And I don't even know if it had endless written on it. But my initial idea for that was even before I had the prototype mod. My initial idea for endless was to sort of rival Complife and offer these endless options for other people's mods. So sleeves for the AV mod, sleeves for Limitless. The whole concept of endless come about by me trying to create a stack section for my own endless mod, my own Limitless mod. And then we realised we couldn't stack it from the bottom end. It needed to be stacked from the top end. So we made the 510 removable, so you could actually add the tube and then put your 510 on top of that. So it was a mad journey over about 9 months actually, from looking at people's products and what can we add to it. I was looking at, we actually had a prototype deck for the Rig V2 that weren't a fucking roughneck, which is shit. So I was like, you know what, I actually love the rig mod. The reason why I never used the rig mod is I felt it was an overpriced tugboat because it was
with that shit RDA on it,
with a very shit RDA, and it was a competition mod. So I was like, you know what? If we can bring out a 2-post or a 3-post or a 4-post deck that's got the roughneck thread on it that will screw straight into the rig as a hybrid, but it's got a fucking proper build deck on it, I know people will buy them. Now, actually, what happened during all that journey of looking at all these various things we could launch, I just says, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to do my own mod. And actually, all the concepts that I want to put into other people's mods, I'll bring that out on my own. And for whether you love us or hate us or love what we've done or hate what we've done, I honestly believe we paved the way for how mech mods are today. There's no one that creates a mech mod now that's not stackable. There's no one that creates a build deck that you can't get a fucking 5-core fuse Clapton in. But we've done all of that. We've done it right from the start, and actually says, you know what, this is the way that I want to go. We were the first people to drop an RDA in 12 different colours. No one done it. We were the first people that I can think of, apart from probably Rig at the time, that dropped the RDA and the mod at exactly the same time. Everyone was dropping mech mods. No cunt had RDAs out. So then Complife cleaned up and brought out the battle deck. But actually, when we'd done it, I went in balls deep with everything that I'd done, everything. And it was a bit like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. I looked at having everything made in the UK. I didn't do it because I couldn't get the RDA made in the UK. We'd have had to retail the RDA for about 160 quid just for the RDA. And I was like, because they were having issues getting peak because the peak was coming from Germany. And then they were a bit like, oh, fucking hell, this is basically a ball ache. There's so much more effort goes into making an RDA than what goes into making a tube mod. Yeah. And actually, the tube sells for more because it's bigger. So much easier to make. I pay a few dollars less for a RDA than I do for a tube. And yet the price difference is normally double or thereabouts, if not more than that. So that's it. And then the names, we come up with, obviously the sleeve one was it was called the sleeve mod, the V1. In fact, it was just the sleeve mod. Yeah. The only reason why it became the V1 is because we launched the V2. And actually the V2, if I'm being absolutely honest, is what the V1 should have been. But for me, in the early days of trying to communicate with China, things like the hybrid 510 and the floating 510 should have been chamfered to 24mm from the start, and it weren't. It was chamfered to 22mm. But we actually dropped a 24mm RDA, so when people were hand checking it, it looked like there was a gap, but there weren't. It was just because the chamfers were a mil apart and the fucking in. So then I was like, we need to bring out another hybrid because I can't deal with this. It's fucking doing my head in. And then Tasha was still using AV, so I was like, how can I get an external switch going? So the lady button was born. We already had the hole in the V1 switch. We just decided to thread it and put the lady button on there. The switch was exactly the same, apart from the throw on the switch was actually 1.2mm longer. So the throw was shorter when you was at your lowest point of your dowel ring. And then when I looked at the clean mod, I genuinely, again, somewhere in this house, I've got the prototype clean mod. and a prototype hourglass mod, and I'd never in my life seen a timekeeper. That's the gospel truth, because I didn't follow. I've said it lots of times. I didn't follow these big companies. I didn't realise everyone else was out there doing what I was doing. I'd never seen an AV timekeeper, but I was like, you know what? A bit of shape to that mod would look really nice. So I wanted to use the same switch because that's what we were doing. Hence the clean mod's 25mm at the bottom, 24 at the top, because it's exactly the same switch and threads as the existing mod. And I had two prototypes, the hourglass, which was curved, and I had the clean mod, and then someone in fact, to tell you it was that fucking troll Jay Patel. I posted it on Mech Addiction, the two mods, and saying, look, this one's just going to be nice, because I felt like people were trying to go over the top with the look of the mod. Actually, some people just want a basic fucking brass mod that looks nice and clean when it's polished, and a nice RDA that's flush fitting on the top, and people are good to go. And also, it was cheaper to manufacture, which meant when we dropped that at $59.99, it was fucking unheard of in this industry. There was nothing else out there apart from the Phantom from Watofa, and that was 35 quid or 40 quid or whatever it was. But there was nothing else on that level at 60 quid anywhere. And the clean mod was literally just because it was just that. It was just clean. And I only called the dirty mod because we called the clean the clean. There was no other reason for it. And then obviously when I bought out the 25mm, and then I realised we couldn't stack the clean mod because it was a bit of an afterthought actually. But in hindsight, if I didn't rush the clean mod out, the clean mod would have always been 25mm single stacked. So then we dropped the V1 sleeve mod, we dropped the clean mod, then the V2 come out, then the cleaner and the dirty dropped at the same time. Then the Empress come out, and the reason for the Empress was literally me looking. I decided to try and we bought out the slam cap, and then I was like, I need airflow control on that. And actually, if you look at a Slam'em 24, it's nigh on identical to a Goon V1.5 or whatever it is. But we launched that Slam'em 7 months before a 1.5 Goon ever seen the market.
They put holes rather than the Cyclops.
They had holes in their initial. They had a very shallow deck. They had the clamps. I'd done a clamp design RDA and I didn't like it. And I was like, no cunt's going to like clamps. And I seen a fucking Goon with serialization number 227,000. I wanted to punch myself in the throat. But I mean, I still don't like clamps. I still don't. So actually, I've still never bothered to do a clamp. I bought an Apocalypse and I don't like it. I love the Apocalypse, but I'd love it with a V2S deck on it. Because actually, I love the airflow of an Apocalypse. I like the way it works. The teardrop's very clever and all them things. So that was the and then I'd done the Slam'em, and then I started using the as a thing. So then we had the Empress was just because it started with the M. And when I decided to call it the Empress, I'd already thought, you know what, we need an Empress, an Emperor, and an Empire. That was the three mods that we wanted to drop. So the Empire's never come, so there's still room for that to be there. Emily was just because it was little, and my daughter was called Emmy, and it began with EM. So it was just, I mean, literally, there's not really a mad story to all of the things. And the Pandemonium was because Chris has obviously designed the Pandora. His business is what's the Pandora's? What's the actual company name? Psychosis. Yeah. So he'd come up with the Pandemonium. He wanted to call it, the sign that's on it is for Pandemonium. And then I was like, well, actually, we can call it Pandemonium with the EM. It's just another play on words, and it uses his initial concept of name with our branding. So that's really what it was. And then Build'em was just another There's not like a mad, exciting story. It's just, to me, it sort of made sense for the names that they were called along the way that they were called. So,
well, I know, don't ask that question a million times. You've all said this story about 9 times now. So if anybody wants to watch it back and find out what Paul tells you. So the last question of the night is a very different question. I'm going to ask it to the pair of you. And this comes in from Pixie. And it says, if there was ever a film made about you, who would you get to play yourself? And I think this is a cool fucking question.
Fucking me.
Mine is Pillsbury fucking Doughboy. Kev, who would you choose if you had someone to play yourself in your life as a film? Who would you play? Who would you have to play yourself? Or not play with yourself?
That's such a difficult one, really.
Good question, there.
I would go for someone like Vin Diesel. Someone like that.
Fuck you, shoot for the fucking stars, mate.
Fuck me, he'd be spending plenty of time in a tractor, mate. It wouldn't be very much an action film, would it?
No, but you know.
Fucking Vin Diesel, Paul, go on. Sylvester Stallone.
No. I'm thinking fucking Eric Bana, who played Chopper.
Oh, yes.
Only because Chopper is genuinely one of my favourite films because I just love the fact that it's based on a true story and fucking Mark Chopper Reed's mad as a box of fucking frogs. But the thing that intrigued me was that if you look at Eric Bana, I think he was also the Hulk, weren't he?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Or he's certainly played various parts. But actually, when I had the DVD of it back in the day and you watch it, it's got like the whole film, then it's got a picture of, then it's got like a split screen with the real Mark Chopper Reed watching the film, talking over it about things where like, it's a bit like my book where like, it was like Shades was a character of maybe 12 people that I knew rolled into one mad fucking alter ego. And what Chopper Reed was saying was actually, that's the way that's depicted in that part of the film. It was actually probably 5 or 6 different drug dealers rolled into one, just because obviously just to keep the film to an hour and a half or whatever. But then it was mad things like when you see the mannerisms of the real Mark Chopper Reed over how Eric Bana played him, it was fucking madness. And during the making of the film, he actually put 3.5 stone on to play the difference between Mark Chopper Reed when he was in jail to when it was like 9 years later when he come out of jail and he was older and he put weight on. He actually put 3.5 stone on to play that role. And the way that he walked, the way that he talked, he fucking rehearsed that part. And I just feel like Eric Bana could pull me off. That's not pull me off. That's a bit fucking...
Well, we've got some more questions, but we'll leave them till next week. We'll roll over the questions. So before we finish, as you know, we do the Paul Harrison status of the week. And I believe you put this one up today, but I'm going to double check. You put it up yesterday, and this is so fucking true. And if anybody doesn't live by this, you fucking mad. Paul says, just saying, if I've blocked you on social media and you see me in the street, the block still applies in real life. That is the fucking truth right there. Still fucking applies. I like that one. So that's us for this week. Kevin, thank you for joining us. Paul, I hope you enjoyed your stuff you was doing before the show. I hope you had a really good time.
Me was singing in a choir concert at school, which was very nice and very festive and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good.
Shed a tear?
Huh?
You shed a tear?
You know what, mate? Things like that. I was actually watching it thinking, I always get like, silly as it sounds, I can watch The X Factor, and when someone is really, really good at what they do, I can get emotional on it. It sounds really gay and stupid. But I'm more, you know, like when it shows, like, I don't know, say like there's a 20-year-old kid singing and he's fucking fire, and it cuts to the picture of his mum and dad on the side watching him, and you can see how proud they are, without getting all fucking stupid and crying on the fucking endless banter. I always think of like how proud my dad would be or not have been of me now at this point in my life. So whenever I'm watching my kids like that, I genuinely get like, it does get proper emotional for me. One, because I'm lucky she's 9 years old, man. She's little, and obviously it's mad to see her up on stage singing and doing and whatever. But I always, even if I'm watching them fucking, even if they're only the tree or something and they just stood there all the whole way through the play as a fucking oak tree, I still get, and I feel like, yeah, you failed a bit there, man. You're acting shit. They've put you as a tree because you're fucking crap. But I still get a little bit emotional in that. So yeah, I do.
I love that. I love that. And there's nothing wrong with having a team. Fucking Real Man who has a team. So somebody just asked who won the competition from last week. I'm going to tag Paul in the competition, and Paul can choose because it is his face people have been using in the competition from 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry it's been delayed, but we've been very busy. But I'll get Paul. I'll tag Paul in it, and he can choose who's win. So I'll post on that status who's winning from 2 weeks ago. So, Kev, once again, thank you for joining us. Paul, always a pleasure. Guys, remember to like the video. Remember to subscribe. I've just had a notification somebody subscribed before I said it, so thank you very much. And we'll see you next week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Always late because that's just what we do. And we'll see you soon. Peace all.
Bye.